stream on the channel. Different setup this time around. I got a new laptop, so there was no intro screen. I forgot how difficult it was to set up intro screens for this, but let me know if you can see and hear me. We'll get things adjusted accordingly. But it is great to be back, and it's weird to hear myself once again. So as usual, lads, let me know if you can hear and see me. Good to be back for another stream. I'll wait for people to pile up in here before I blabber on. Yeah, show your face in chat. Let me quickly tweet that we're live. And hopefully we have another amazing stream. Let me quickly make sure that went up. Alright, sweet. Okay, lads, we are back. Do show face in chat. Come on, you Spurs, says FPL Ishak. Can you please let me know if I need to adjust the audio? I think inevitably I'm going to have to. I'm just switching it around here because I can, of course, see the audio bar. Who we got in here? We got Akiel, we got Frood, Ingo. Good to see you, lads. Rahul, questions in already. We'll get to them in just a second. Reese Clay, JC Music. But yeah, I hope we're all well, lads, after the international break. Just to note, new laptop, like I said, things should run a bit smoother now. The wildcard is indeed active. We sit currently at a rank of 340k. Of course, it is game week 8, so we have, 30 game weeks left to play. The audio should be better now. The camera should be better, less laggy. The only thing I would note is right now I'm currently in my sitting room, so the green screen mightn't be ideal in the lighting situation, but we're going to get there. I hope you've been enjoying the videos so far on the channel. I've tried to be as consistent as possible, like I did say on these deadline streams. It's the one thing that I seem to need to be sorry, I can't speak. To be getting better at. But on that note, before we get into my own team, as usual, lads, let's have a look at some graphics for the week. Again, please let me know if you can see and hear me perfectly. Jackson in chat, Russell, FPL Discomfort. Yeah, if you could turn the mic all the way down to 0. Sound Kieran. Maliki, good morning, lads. Ben Techers, Andre. So many in chat, Antoine as well, and Mark. Sorry if I've missed anyone, but so many back in chat, lads. And it's time to discuss, before we get into my actual wildcard team, have I actually changed anything? Just one thing I want to say. I've been a man of my word since 2 weeks ago. I have told you guys that, you know, once I start to tinker with my team, I couldn't imagine a lot was going to change. And since, we've had 4 changes since my very first draft of my own team. So, quickly before we get into my own team, let's talk about this particular game week. Now, I just want to say, for those that are on wildcard, sorry, I'm after opening the wrong thing. A lot of the teams I'm seeing are probably not actually targeted for this game week. You know, like, a lot of people don't have Liverpool necessarily for this game week, and there's only one other team who are projected to score more than 2 goals, and that's, of course, Manchester City. So therefore, like, more people are actually setting up for later down the line. If you're bringing in a Semenyo this week, 1.22 expected goals for Bournemouth, and if you have the likes of a Senesi, for example, or even a Chris Richards slash Lacroix, you know, the odds this week aren't particularly great. So a lot of people definitely not setting up for this game. Good to see FPL Tough channel members in chat, and David West says good morning also. Everyone is delighted to be back, lads, and so am I. So let's get into let's keep going into this graphic. Over from Chasing Green Arrow CH, very good. So just to go back to the graphic, yeah, like, okay, a lot of us have Erling Haaland, sure. Who else are a lot of us bringing in? Well, the Arsenal guys, of course. Good to see Kieran giving us great tips on the Arsenal guys. Yeah, Arsenal projected 48 chance of a clean sheet, which absolutely no surprise away at Fulham. What is mental to me is the 0.74 expected goals for Fulham. I mean, this number for a at-home side is absolutely crazy at the Cottage. So, I mean, by the sounds of it, it makes for a boring game. I don't know how you feel. Personally, as a neutral watching Arsenal, some of the games can be quite boring. Am I right, Kieran? But let me know, lads, if everything is running smoothly. It was so awkward setting up things like the chat again, the viewer count even, and even my background. I didn't even have an intro today because how newly everything was set up. Hello, Ablash and Paul. Good to see you. We'll get to questions in just a second, lads. We're going to wait for a lot more people to gather up. That way, when I'm answering questions, a lot more people will have their own questions answered. FPL Discomfort says, I think we have a 12% chance of a clean sheet, to be honest. We always concede in easy games. Yeah, I wouldn't say I necessarily think you have a higher chance. I would just say, like, 48% is very, very good. I feel like I'd be way more comfortable. I agree, if this was a home game for Arsenal. Good to see you, Ken. I hope you're well. But like I said, lads, please hold off on the questions. I don't want to be answering the same question multiple times and people missing out. So I'm going to leave people build up just for a second and we'll get to them. What else is interesting in this graph is a lot of the, not necessarily lower teams, but the newly promoted teams and the teams that are struggling this season are projected to do quite well from a clean sheet point of view. Where is that good? In my opinion, it's good for the wildcarders. And the reason for that is because a lot of us can go to a Joe Rodon, for example. A Mukiele, which a lot of people might already have. Some people already have Alderete. It's also good for bench boost. But for me, why it's good is we get the opportunity to play the likes of an Enzo. And if he's not fit, then we get the likes of a Rodon off the bench. Or even a Mukiele, so... and just to know, I am also a bit bunged up. If you're wondering why I'm struggling for air here. And sorry if you are hearing sniffles. I'm trying my best. Good to see you, Toy 16. David says, watching Arsenal is boring to you, Chai, because you know the result before kickoff. And Arsenal Dubsky. That is so fair, Davis. But just going back to the graphic, and we'll move on to my team in just a second where it's a bit more interesting. I say that, but a lot of you have probably watched my wildcard video. Actually, let's move on. I just want to talk about Anthony Gordon. I think he's a great pick this game week and for the foreseeable future on penalties, of course. I just hope his minutes would be 70, 75 plus going forward. Other than that, I think we're okay to move on from this graphic. Okay, let's bring up my current team for this game week. Absolutely fighting for my life here, lads, with the sniffles. But here's my team for the game week, lads. And let me quickly run through it for anyone who is just listening and doing your thing, probably having breakfast, making your morning coffee. Here's the team. I very much like it personally. I think it is very different. Don't get me wrong, and it's definitely very different. I'm fine with that because I believe in the players I've chosen. Let's run through it selection by selection. Again, I'm sure you're going to have multiple questions on this. And by the way, I believe I'm after making the ads, just after popping into my mind, the ad slot's too frequent. Let me change that for you guys because it is definitely way too frequent. Give me 2 seconds, I'll have it changed.
Would you be this week, Enzo Doubt and Xhaka first bench?
Lads, do let me know if you can hear that super chat. One thing I need to know is I need to put that above the actual text chat. If you can't hear that, let me know. I'm just going to quickly change the ad slots for you guys because I'm sure it's been a pain in the bollocks if you're going to be here for a while. But let me quickly answer the super chat before I carry on to my team. Where are we? So it is a super chat from Nasir Darwish. Thank you so much. He sends us 17.99 QAR. Let me know in chat what what currency that is. He says, would you bench boost this game week with Enzo, Adele and Xhaka first bench? Nasir, I absolutely would if Enzo and Xhaka were on my bench, as long as you had 2 other playing players, assuming they're 4.0. Super chat was a small bit quiet. Okay, perfect. We'll try to get that bumped up for you. And thank you so much, Nasser, for the super chat. We do appreciate it here, of course. So yeah, I would definitely be confident in an Enzo start, lads. That's where I land on that. I feel like Chelsea in general have been quite pragmatic with sending their players off the international break. I feel like with the red cards and the injury situation they currently have, they want to be careful, of course. Qatar, I was thinking that, but I didn't want to assume. QAR, interesting. Thank you again, Nasser. You're a legend. Where was I? I got so sidetracked. I keep getting sidetracked. Oh yeah, I'm just after moving the ad slots. So apologies if that was a bit annoying, lads, if you're getting ads every few minutes. I hope it is changed now. But anyway, going back to my own team. So this morning we had 2 price drops. Well, 1 price drop, 1 price rise. João Pedro went down in price, and Nick Voldemade went up in price. So that allowed me to go from Robert Sanchez at 4.9 million up to Nick Pope at 5.1. And I also thought Nick Pope was going to get a rise, but he didn't quite. And I do expect one this game week, if I'm being honest. But I think Nick Pope is a substantial upgrade from Robert Sanchez. Again, I think Sanchez's fixtures is definitely a small bit underrated, but I really like Nick Pope for the foreseeable future. So let me quickly run through some of the differential picks, I want to say, the controversial ones. So Mohamed Kudus, my favourite player. I feel like 90-minute man, lads, going through this period of games, and he's also been our star boy. I don't want to say too much on him because I've continuously said this in every single video or every single fantasy football stream that I've done. But for me, lads, it's just the talismanic figure in a not necessarily struggling side. And I know a lot of people will look at the numbers, lads. Spurs' 4 expected numbers haven't been great, but a lot of the data has been skewed. I believe it is the overperformance numbers, and the reason for that is because 1, we've not had a penalty this season, and also we've scored a lot of goals from own goals, so they don't really count towards XG, so it skews the data. I believe Spurs are around 3.8, a crazy amount of overperformance, but it is definitely skewed. So just to note, on Enzo, who has been the most recent pickup, I like Enzo a lot for sure. Again, I don't think he's necessarily on penalties. I'm just playing the fixtures. I think he's personally going to be fit. Like I said, I do think it is a case of Maresca playing his cards well and getting Pedro and Enzo back from international break. And I think his way, the Argentinians are quite passionate, I would say, about, you know, playing for their country, of course. And what I think has happened here is Enzo's gone, right, I don't want to damage my PR here. Don't include me in any of the training pictures. And then just start me on the weekend. Again, I could be looking into that way too much. It's just, that's what I feel. If he was any nationality but Argentinian, I wouldn't think anything of it. But for me, I feel like that's the case, especially with Maresca. I feel like he's not quite clear in press conferences either. No Antoine Semenyo, that's the next thing. So I don't like Bournemouth's fixtures for the next 4. Let me quickly bring up Bournemouth real quick. Select replacement Semenyo fixtures. Okay, so Bournemouth have got Palace away, Forest at home, City away, and then Villa away. Don't get me wrong, Semenyo is the talismanic figure of Bournemouth. Absolutely no doubt in that. And I've continuously spoke about how good he's been this season. I've seen him rip up Spurs this season with my own eyes, and I've also seen him play against Fulham and 2 other games, one against Liverpool at the start of the season. He's been absolutely amazing. Big overperformance, one of the biggest this season so far. But as if you expect Semenyo to keep up this rate, I mean, he's going to get the Golden Boot. And he's going to get Player of the Year. Now, he easily could, because you could say he should be playing for a top 6 side. He's currently on penalties, and it looks like Kluivert might be back in the team, but I think there's an opportunity for the next 4 at least to go against him. And I think when I have a team where I have the likes of a Salah, a Haaland, I need to pick up funds and value elsewhere. And what I've done is gone Ebe Eze instead of Antoine Semenyo. And the route to me to get to a Semenyo would, of course, be Nick Pope down to Semenyo, or Nick Pope down to a 4.4 or 4.5 in Verbergen or Petrovic, and bring up Eze up to a Semenyo. But for me, I want to play the fixtures. I want to get a piece of this Arsenal attack. I don't think I can see myself going into these run of games for Arsenal and go without an attacker. In comparison to Bournemouth, with this run of games, I feel like at 8 million, again, a price rise last night, I can see the justification for not going there. It is bold. It is definitely bold. But that's just where my mind is at. And I think I could pick up some points over the next 4. He could easily punish me, don't get me wrong. But if he does eventually hurt me, hoping the players I have in place for the value I have, or my captaincy, which will move on to Mo Salah now, can give me some marginal gain. So let's speak about Mo Salah again. I don't think there's much to say from my end. For me, what I would say is I don't think he's a finished player, one. I don't think he's a finished asset. And I think Liverpool are by far the best attack in the league. When you combine the fixtures and how good Liverpool are of an attack, considering they haven't quite clicked, the numbers still expect them to do the best over the next 11 games until the halfway mark at game week 19. And if Liverpool are going to score goals, I don't see a world in Salah not being involved in them. I also think he is the best game week 8 captain, hence why I've got the armband on him. But absolutely no issue with me if you don't want to go with Salah. I completely understand it. That is fine with me. If anything, I'm hoping people actually don't go with Salah so I can pick up as many points as possible against the field. And if it doesn't work out my way, I'm happy to take the loss, to be honest. I think there is so much upside in going with the likes of a Salah that if he doesn't work out this week or the next week, I think come game week 12, 13, 14, 15, that's where I'll see a lot of gain. And I'm hoping that I won't have to make changes later down the line. And I like the strategy of in game week 16 when we get the transfers to do Salah to an Isaac and prep for the bench boost. Again, we have lots of transfers to use from now and then, lads. So let me quickly go to the chat before I continue to waffle on. Paul says, yes, Shai, let's go Salah owners. Again, I would never try to convince anyone to go with Salah because I understand it is quite bold. And by the way, now that we've got the MacBook camera, I actually have my phone handy. You have never seen me go on stream on my phone, but it's good because now if there's ever an emergency, I can go on Twitter, I can scroll around in my DMs, I can see if we can get any leaks before I have to open it up on stream. I see Kieran has just shot me a DM. Normally I wouldn't be able to do that. FBL Discomfort says, ooh, Salah cap could overtake you this week, Chai, or be a long way behind. Do you see what I'm saying? So right now, lads, you know the type of manager I am. I feel like if you're watching me now, the reason you're watching me is because of the way I play. We do things quite differently here, and we're quite bold. Going Salah captain this week, I feel like could either bring me into the top 100k again, or bring me out to 500, 600k. But I feel like the upside this game week is definitely there against United. A lot of people are looking past the fixture, and historically, of course, it's been a good one for Liverpool. Again, his historic outcomes have not predicted future ones. Of course, it's not how it works. But when we take United for how they are currently, and Liverpool for how they are currently, again, Liverpool 3 losses in a row, United a few nice wins. But I'm quite hopeful as the Salah owner and captainer. Chaikutis to Xhaka and Mukiele to Munoz and Gabriel depend on cash international break is awesome. Yeah, I like that. Jesus questions. Definitely nice. Praful says, Chai, Paqueta or Caicedo? Let's get to some of your questions before we continue with my team. I would go Paqueta over Caicedo personally. I feel like Paqueta is definitely a nice pick. Discomfort. I also look at Solio, by the way. That's also in the back of my mind. Like, it's not like I completely disregard any models because I'm always looking at every aspect of FPL, whether it's Spiros' model, FPL review, Solio analytics, FPL Fran, Pras, I'm in tune with a lot of the analytics side. It's just I don't let them determine who I'm picking. Oh yeah, and we are also about to hit 9k subscribers, so do hit that button for me, lads. We're almost there, which is brilliant, of course. And then after that, it will be the 10k milestone. Thoughts on Anthony of Burnley for the next couple of fixtures. Anton, he's a player that Spiros' model loves. By the way, if you don't follow Spiros on Twitter, do shoot him a follow, FPL co-pilot. But what was I saying? Yeah, Anthony is an interesting one. Would I pick him up personally? I feel like if he was a dead spot on my team, I would. I think otherwise, I wouldn't be bringing in Anthony from Burnley. I don't love him. He's been great this season so far, though. Would you do Xavi Simons, Volamade to Enzo and Bowen for free? I don't think I would do it this week, Sushant. Ryan says, should I keep Xavi or Richarlison? Would be switched to Enzo, Eze, Pedro, Bowen. I think I would keep Xavi this week. I would get rid of Richarlison happily to Pedro, though, this week. Would you transfer out Xavi for Enzo or Kudus? I wouldn't. I think it's a very sideways move, personally. I wouldn't be inclined to move Xavi to Kudus or any other Spurs asset. I would just hold on to him for the time being. I don't think he's a bad hold. Again, my Spurs boy is kicking in, but you have to remember, like, as long as his minutes are still there, he's going to be a good option going forward. Start Mbeumo or Diouf or Senesi? That is a tough question. I would be always playing the attacker with how poor Liverpool have been defensively. But if you can't look past Liverpool away, then I would just play Senesi. I like your team, Choi. And you know this week as a... I like a lot of your team, Choi, but you know this as a 4-week play, and Kudus fixtures are tough in the short to mid-term. I agree, Kudus is definitely tough, right? But in my mind, right, again, lads, I always speak about this. I don't just think of Kudus, great player, good fixtures, poor fixtures, etc. I really try to look at the game state in some of these fixtures to come up, particularly when it's my own team. When we speak about Tottenham and Kudus in general, how do we expect Spurs to set up in these games with Villa, Chelsea, United, Arsenal? Well, historically, for Brentford, Thomas Frank, the way he set up is by playing 2 strikers. One of those strikers being Tony, one of them being Kudus, and the faster striker playing off, running in behind. If he makes that role for Mohamed Kudus in these big games, he's going to be a player who I want to own at 6.5 million. For sure. I mean, if we're at home to United and Chelsea, which, by the way, at this point in the season, where Chelsea are missing Cole Palmer, United are conceding big chance after big chance, Villa look really poor. Again, Villa are currently on a nice streak, but I don't think they're necessarily really hard fixtures. Sure, they're worse than the Burnley and Leeds that Spurs had, but they're definitely not terrible fixtures. I just think the way we're going to set up is going to be quite interesting. Are you doing a captaincy poll? Would be interesting to see how many are going Salah. Yeah, let's do a poll real quick, lads. Who is your game week 8 captain? And by the way, do like and subscribe if you aren't already. Let me know if we've hit 9k. Let's do Haaland, who's the obvious one this game week. Let's do Salah. And let's add a other. I can't imagine anyone is going other, but we'll add it there just in case. So do get voting on that poll, lads. And let me quickly take a swig of my coffee. Would you start Sanchez or Pope? I would start Pope. Troy, how likely do you think it is that Spurs will keep a clean sheet versus Aston Villa? If I'm being honest, I think it is unlikely. Unai Emery is a great manager, man. I always feel like he can nick a goal against any side. Salah captain. Nice one, Sally. Gakpo out for Eze, Sarr, Kudus, or roll. Trico, I would roll, I think. I think I would roll, yeah. 2 seconds, lads. Let me blow my nose before I carry on. Apologies, lads. Bunged up, like I said. If you were priced out of Enzo, where would you be looking? A dead spot and upgrade somewhere else, or maybe Rice for a similar price? Love that. Rice for a similar price. No, if I couldn't go Enzo, I think I would go to Elliot Anderson, to be honest. I know it is not one that a lot of people would like, but I feel like Elliot Anderson has been a great player over the last 2 seasons. I feel like particularly in this Ange team, we could start seeing a more attacking Nottingham Forest, and if a more attacking Nottingham Forest happens, well, I'd like to think Elliot Anderson is involved, and he's also great for DEFCON. And I imagine his confidence is also high with how he's been involved with England. So I feel like Elliot Anderson is probably one of my biggest differential budget midfielders. Should I sell Salah to get Saka? Well, I can't advise you on that because I've gone with Salah. If I said yes to that, I would be basically saying I should go Saka. And by the way, I think Saka is an amazing option. Two things, lads. I don't think Salah is like marginally better than Saka. Sorry, it's not necessarily that in this particular scenario. For me, it comes down to captaincy. Over the next run of games, I could see myself captaining Salah, but I could not see myself captaining Saka unless it's that run of games where it's Burnley and Sunderland. Otherwise, I would just captain Haaland. So I feel like it comes down to captaincy, and when you consider captaincy in this game, it changes things. If I were to perma-captain Haaland for the foreseeable and I just had Salah for his singular game week points, I don't think there would actually be much point in that case to go with Salah. I think I would just go with Saka in the end, but it's because I'm comfortable with putting the armband on him in a game like Burnley at home or Villa at home or Brentford away. My question to you is, let me quickly pull up FPL team real quick. How do you plan on navigating game week 13, 14, 15, 16? If I quickly bring up my Salah and Haaland draft, change this to Nick Pope. Here's my current team. When we go down the line, let's look at the FDR real quick. It's awkward because... Anyway, let me quickly just show you Liverpool. Again, I don't need to show you... Oh my god. How do I scroll this along? I can't. Scroll bar. Game week 18. Let's go 18. There you go. So this is the fixture run that I can't look past for Liverpool. West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds, Brighton, Tottenham and Wolves, lads. It does not get better than that. And then he's going to be shipped to AFCON again. So my own strategy would be captain in probably Sunderland and West Ham. Of course, Haaland has Sunderland, Leeds also. And get rid of Salah in 16, of course, and bring in Alexander Isak for that run. I just don't know. You know, I feel like right now we're playing with a lot of emotions. When I say we, I particularly mean FPL content creators. And it is natural. We are human, of course. But that would not let me define my picks. By the way, my chat is broke. Why won't this load? So annoying. Let me quickly pull up chat again. I just don't know how you're going to navigate those games. And even now, lads, United at home, Brentford away, Villa at home, City away, Forest at home. Those are great fixtures for Liverpool, of course. So I'm just confused in a sense where I understand if you don't want to go to Salah, of course, but I just feel like if he returns in at least 2 of these next 3, lads, everyone is going to be doing everything they can to bring him in. Again, I could be completely wrong. He could easily blank this game week, the next game week, and everyone is delighted that they don't own him. But I think it is more likely that he returns than not in these run of games. No West Ham assets, says Sally. West Ham are decent options, definitely, Sally. But for me, what it comes down to is, West Ham are currently in a place where you don't know what you're going to get.
Should I transfer Mbumo to Kudus or Enzo? Or SHLD I just play Esteve and bench Mbumo I also have GE on bench. PLS give some advice Chai. Cheers.
Okay, thank you for the super chat from Ariane. I hope you guys can hear that, by the way. And let me know if it still needs to be adjusted. I tried to make it a small bit louder. But thank you so much, Aryan, for the super chat. And by the way, we also have the channel members going, lads, if you want to join. Again, you don't need to do it. It's just a good way to get involved in my community. We have a WhatsApp group, and I often send in my thoughts early on. But thank you, Aryan. He says, should I transfer out Mbuemo to Kudus or Enzo? Or should I just play Esteve and bench Mbuemo? I also have Ndiaye on the bench. Please give me some advice. So, Aryan, I would personally be more than happy to either play Mbuemo or Ndiaye this game week. Reason being is, I actually think Mbuemo as an asset is quite decent. That's the first thing. In comparison to Kudus and Enzo, who could do really well this game week. But even though Enzo is flagged, I think he will play. If I was not on wildcard, I don't think I would necessarily risk it, unless you're confident of a start also. Kudus, on the other hand, who I think is a good move, but I think it is quite sideways this particular game week with Mbuemo playing Liverpool and Ndiaye playing City. I feel like Ndiaye could easily get DEFCON this week, whereas Mbuemo could easily get a return. I think I would play Ndiaye. It kind of sounds mad because I'm telling you not to make a transfer towards Kudus and Enzo, who have good fixtures. But I would prefer to reassess next game week. I would definitely be tempted with the Enzo move, actually. More so over Kudus. If it was me though, what I would do is I would play Ndiaye or Mbuemo. Mbuemo or Ndiaye is really close. I don't think I would make the move this week. I hope it helps you out though. Esteve. I wouldn't play Esteve for sure. But yeah, that's my thoughts, Aryan. And again, thank you for the super chat. Sleepy says, I can only choose between Eze and Sar. Who do I choose? Value Sar. If I could choose for the next 4, definitely Eze. Turning off now to watch Gianni on Sky Sports News. Very good, Maliki. Fair enough. I get it. Does Richarlison start? Bradley is asking. I would say Richarlison has about 70% chance in my mind to start. Start 1, Anderson, Senesi, Roden, or bench boost. I would bench boost Chelsea. Hey, I activated my wildcard, says ZJ. Hello, ZJ. I didn't even know you're in here. He says, but I still have 0.5 in the bank. Is it too much to have in the bank, or it's okay? If you're happy with the team, lads, there's never too much in the bank. That's what I would say. If you've gotten to a point with money in your bank, it means you're comfortable with your team. So happy days. Let's do a little scroll on Twitter, lads, because I don't want to miss anything. Let's look at another graph from Rob T. And it's percentage chance of wins, win, draw, loss. Liverpool 60%, City 66%. Interestingly enough, Crystal Palace are 43% and Tottenham are 47%. I think they're quite high. But yeah, that is interesting. Alright, let's do a little scroll because I don't want to miss anything, lads, of course. By the way, I absolutely love this this thumbnail. I feel like this is one of the best thumbnails I've ever seen. And by the way, lads, do let me know if you're going to be interested in this. As you know, I've been quite consistent with the videos this season so far. I am thinking about starting a new series. When I say series, a weekly video that I do called Breaking the Template. And in it, we discuss the best players to buy and also the best differentials of the game week. So let me know if you think that would be an interesting watch and it would do well. Again, I only want to do it if people are interested. I want to, you know, a lot of people have their own things. For example, a lot of people do their weekly buys every single week, or people have their deadline dilemmas or deadline decisions, whatever you want to call it. I feel like it'd be my own way because a lot of people watch me because I seem to be quite differential and do things a lot differently. Would you play Caicedo or Gakpo this game? Like, I would play Cody Gakpo for sure. Maliki is still here. He's saying that he prefers to watch Chai over Gianni over on Sky Sports. Do you rate Bowen on wildcard? Jamie is asking. Of course I rate Bowen. He's one that has been on my watch list for a few game weeks now, and he's one that I was probably excited to get onto when there were some João Pedro doubts. But now it looks like João Pedro is fine. Do you have a gut pick this game week? For this particular game week, no. But what my gut is telling me is I would like to own Anthony Gordon and Gerard Bowen and also Elliot Anderson. I think they're 3 great value picks. Bowen not necessarily too much on value, but Gordon and Anderson, I would love to own them. Mike Lowry says, I'm going to assume you're Irish, Mike Lowry. He says, pick 3 to keep. And he's worded, thank you for subscribing. I actually can't see the name. Let me drag that over. Warapul, thank you. Sorry, lads. To get back to your question and how it was worded, it's a very easy read, lads. When you're sending questions, you should word it like this. In brackets, you put Saka Minta Pope or Pope Saka Eze. So what you're asking me is Minta or Eze, no? Or am I reading that wrong? Minta or Eze? I would go Eze easily. Not even a question. Thoughts on Isaac? Definitely creeping into my thoughts. He's not there yet because I don't know what Slot is going to do with both Ekitike and Isaac and minutes in general. But Isaac is definitely on my mind, lads, and I think this could be a great game for him against United. He could throw one of these. Should I bench boost? My bench is Dubravka, Xhaka, Anderson of Fulham and Alderete. Yeah, I think I would get it out of the way, Abdullah. Can Paqueta cover Bowen? I don't think it is a like-for-like comparison, really. Paqueta, you have a great value player. Bowen, you have less value but higher upside. Paqueta, of course, who can get to DEFCON. By the way, just on Paqueta, I was looking at him because, of course, I made fucking... Sorry, I didn't mean to curse. I made thousands of iterations. That was crazy. I tried to stop myself from cursing mid-curse. I made thousands of iterations of drafts, of course. But what struck me as interesting is his DEFCON. If we look at his DEFCON, if you look at it here, he's after getting 11 twice this season and 13 and 15. He's great for DEFCON, and I imagine it's going to continue to be great. Sally's laughing at me. I didn't mean to do that. It's mad because I was mid-curse and I was like, oh, I can't say that. But yeah, no, Paqueta is probably going to be not so good for DEFCON with these fixtures. Again, probably good in Newcastle and Bournemouth. But the upside should still be there. Nick A30, we forgive you. That is brilliant. Let me take a swig of coffee. Let me take a second. But yeah, Paqueta is definitely an interesting one, lads. Can he cover Bowen? I mean, I guess the answer is yes. In my mind, it's definitely yes. But anyway, let me quickly interact with chat again. The poll is over. 74% is on Haaland, and no surprise here. And 25% of chat is bold enough to go here. Johnny would never. Johnny is quite professional. Johnny would never do that. He's all tucked up and proper for everything. In fairness to him, that's where Johnny definitely beats me. Whereas I still have a bit of that Irish in me where I can't help but curse, lads. I actually can't. It's in my blood. Any updates on Enzo training Friday? No update from myself about training. Hello, Tot, how are you? Is Alderete fit? I would say so, Sergio. Are you locked on Salah captain, Shai? I am. I am, lads. Shai, thoughts on Pedro replacement, or is it locked for you? Pedro's locked in. There's no doubt about Pedro. Would you transfer Isaac and Mbeumo out for Saka and Voldemare? I wouldn't, actually. I don't think I would. Should I have both Semenyo and Sarr in midfield playing against each other? Semenyo and Sarr doesn't matter if they're playing against each other, to be honest. I think it would only matter if you had a defender from either team. How differential should a team be pushing in rank? 24k at the moment and 7 players under 50% owned. Is this too risky? Jesus, what I would say is it doesn't matter what percent owned they are actually in the game. It matters your effective ownership, of course, which is how owned they are in comparison to people at your rank. That's the first thing. And secondly, if you're trying to gain rank, it doesn't matter, to be honest, the ownership, as long as you think you're going to get the most points over a spell of games. So no, it doesn't necessarily matter. Nearly 200 people in chat, lads. Do hit the like button and subscribe if you aren't already. I don't know if we've hit 9k, but we're almost there. That's all I know. Why not start Mukiele over Roden? Because I think Wolves score. Do you think Palace will keep a clean sheet? Says Jamie. I don't necessarily. I think they'll only concede one max though. Pick one of Elliot, Anderson, Rice, and Paqueta. It depends what you're going for. When I compare these three assets, I look at Elliot Anderson as a player who's going to tick over nicely over a spell of games. Paqueta less nicely because of DEFCON, but higher upside for goal threat. Rice, I don't know what to make of him as an option. Definitely good, definitely not bad, but don't love it. So to answer your question, assuming you're going for a budget option, I would go with Anderson or Paqueta. Bruno to Saka, yeah, I would love that if you could do it in one move. Thoughts on Estevao? Interesting. Chewy FPL, good to see you, my man. How's it going? I'm good. Looking to sell Richarlison this week. Thank you for subscribing, Ronar. Who would you pick between Voldemare and Bone? I think if I could go to Bone, I would do it. First off, I think Richarlison probably starts this game week, but I would be looking to get rid of him if I owned him. So, to answer your question, I would go with Bone if I could. Who to start between Alderete, Richards, and Senesi? For me, I'd be starting Richards. Home fixture, that's all. Do you think bench boost is still fine if Enzo, with Enzo and Alderete? I do. Thoughts on NGI is a pick. Great pick. Again, it comes in as a budget option. When I look at these picks, it doesn't necessarily, when I say they're great options that they're going to return, I just think they're good value. When I talk about a good pick, it is always coming down to value, lads. Again, like, you can't compare apples to oranges. Same with the likes of Mohamed Kudus to Semenyo. You know, they're not like for like. Even a Paqueta in comparison to an Anderson, you know, they're no comparison, really. And I would say Anderson, who's what, 5.3, 5.4 now, is great value. Even though he's been disappointing at the start of the season. Senesi or Van de Ven this week? I would play Senesi. Richards or Gahey? Gahey, if you have the funds. Sorry, I need to blow my nose again, lads. Sorry. Thoughts on keeping Bruno Fernandes for one more week? Only one free transfer. Yeah, I'd be inclined to keep Bruno this week. Why not? Again, a tough fixture with Liverpool, of course, but you would expect him to get DEFCON. Would you go Bruno to Eze? I think I would. And I would choose Timber for value. With what's his name? With Ben White being out, I mean, Timber is almost a no-brainer. So, Anand makes a great point. And this is exactly what I mean. He says, how are you 339k with no Semenyo? Lads, if this doesn't tell you that you can go with other options as long as they do well, there's no issue with not picking some of the most popular players in the game. I didn't own Pedro at the start of the game. Of course, he came up with a monster haul. No Antoine Semenyo. No Salah, who did get his lucky enough returns over that spell when a lot of people captained him. I had no Arsenal defence. I mean, it's not exactly ordinary. What I did have was players like Kudus and Haaland, who a lot didn't have, who done quite well. Now, one other thing on that, it works both ways. Now that Semenyo is way more owned in the wider community, it is going to hurt a lot more if he returns. HIF, one can't get Pope or Sanchez due to funds. What's the next best option? To be honest, Petrovic is probably our best option long term. but I don't like him over next 4 at all. Verbergen is actually quite good when you look at the numbers. He rotates decently with Dubravka, I want to say. I'm going to say Petrovic, unfortunately, but I wouldn't be hung on him, if you know what I mean. Pope or Sanchez this game week. Interesting that you've got the double up. I would go with Pope. By the way, Newcastle have been absolutely phenomenal this season so far. From an attacking point of view, or from a defensive point of view. Best 4 million defender, I can't go with Roden. Mukiele. -4 for King on bench boost. Replaced with Sarr, Enzo, Stack, Dubravka, Senesi, Anderson. I suppose I would go with Enzo, but I don't love a -4 to bench boost Chelsea. Alright, let me do another quick scroll on Twitter. Again, we don't want to miss anything. Chelsea are, of course, the early kickoff. I wonder, are we going to get a Chelsea leak this morning? Yeah, and also double check that you've played the button. That is crucial. Imagine the amount of -36 a lot of people will take this week. So, where am I at this current stage of the season? So just a little recap, because I know we've had a long international break and you guys are coming back after not being here for a while. But like I said, 339k in the world. I think we are doing great when you consider things. How is my team getting on value-wise? We've got 0.6 built up in Haaland, 0.3 built up in Kudus. I imagine we're going to get a rise for Pope, Enzo. We've got a decrease in Pedro last night. Sarr, of course, who got a rise. And Salah, who got a decrease in price last week. I feel like in this current stage of the season, again, I've used free hit. A lot of people will be using their bench boost this week, especially now that Alderete was spotted in training. So what will I be expecting for this game week? I would like a small green arrow, if I'm being honest. I always feel like you're looking for a green arrow coming out of a wildcard. Next week is where I think things get really nice for my own team. And I'd be happy with a small green arrow, breaking back into the top 200k. Deary is getting quite frustrated in chat that I'm not answering his question. And I do apologise, Deary. Let me answer your question. I have one free transfer and I want to sell Rodgers. Should I buy Gordon or Paqueta? Or someone else to buy this game week, please? First off, sorry for not answering your question. And I see you're getting quite frustrated. I would go Anthony Gordon, personally, if it was me. Voldemade to Strand Larson to get Caicedo to Enzo. I wouldn't do it, Mikel. Jesus says Semenyo, Haaland, Bowen and Voldemade have all gone up. Exactly. Edgar says, hi Choi, is this bench boostable? Dubravka, Watkins, Anderson, Senesi. Absolutely bench boostable. FPL Toffar channel member says, I'm tempted to bench boost with Dubravka, Diouf, Esteve and Mark Guy. I don't mind that at all. Samson says, hey Choi, Xhaka or Shrewsbury Hall as the 5th mid on wildcard. I would be inclined to go with Shrewsbury Hall. No problem, dearie. I understand it can be frustrating. And I hope you understand that. I try to get back to as many questions as possible. But when I'm rambling on, it can be quite slow. So apologies. Who Twitter should I follow for leaks? What I would say on that, Glenn, if you're looking to get leaks, is I would follow, what are their names? FPL newsletter, definitely. And I would also follow the big name content creators because they often retweet any leaks. And I would also follow Andy Martin because he'll often make a fun joke as soon as it happens. So those are the select few I would follow. Is this your wildcard team, Choi? It is indeed, Sam. This is my locked-in wildcard team. I can't imagine it goes anywhere. By the way, 212 ye in chat. Do like and subscribe if you're already in chat. And let me know if we've hit 9k subscribers. I'm interested to see. Voldemade and Reinders to Kudus and Calvert-Lewin on wildcard. Yeah, I don't mind Calvert-Lewin as a pick. I'll be honest. I'm invisible, says Mike Will. Mike Will T. I don't see your chat, Mike. Sorry. I say ban Derry from chat. Why, what's Derry doing? Poor Derry. Is that on wildcard? I don't mind it, for sure. Anyway, let's do another little scroll on Twitter to make sure we've not missed anything, lads. And let me know what you think of the new streaming setup. Again, it's probably quite subtle, but everything should be working a small bit better. Cheers, FPL Discomfort, for the retweet. Where are we? Alright. Let me pull back up chat because I'm sure you guys have so many questions that you want answered. Transfer Enzo for a hit? No. Thoughts on Salah and Enzo versus Saka and Bruno? I mean, when you put it that way, it is very close. Saka and Bruno is very nice long term. So is Salah and Enzo though. I feel like Salah and Enzo edges it for me because captaincy. Would you pick Petrovic over Mamadashvili? Yeah, I would just say that from the quotes yesterday, Arne Slot spoke about his injury list and he said that Alisson is minimum 2 weeks. Now that doesn't mean that Mamadashvili won't get the next 4 games. I'm just saying that I'd be a bit more skeptical. Tushar says, just started. Thank you, Maximus, for subscribing. Tushar says, I just started watching you recently. Great content. Thank you. I appreciate it, Tushar. He says bench 1 out of Senesi, Richards, and Ekitike. Minutes wise, I know it's bad on Ekitike, but I still think he can score in a cameo. That's tough. If it was me and I had Ekitike, I think I'd be inclined to play him, unfortunately. But my brain would be telling me to play Chris Richards. It is tough though. Oh, it's only bench 1. If it's bench 1, I would bench probably Senesi. Again, it's silly to bench Senesi when you've got Ekitike, but again, I agree. There's something in this game for all forwards for Liverpool, of course. And Ronak says, 21st time asking, Dubravka, Tarko, Xhaka, Alderete were a bench boost. Please respond. Yes, I think any 4 playing this game week because how the fixtures run are nice. So yeah, I do like that bench boost. What's the reason for going Richards instead of Mukiele? I think this is a nice fixture for Crystal Palace. Again, first game back after the international break. I think therefore Wolves were going to probably be a bit better. Sunderland probably will be a small bit worse. And Crystal Palace will be pragmatic at home to Bournemouth because they know how good Bournemouth can be from an attacking front. So, again, game state for me. JC says, is Pat Matter Star okay over Kudus due to funds? Wildcard active, baby. Nice one, JC. Can you do it over Kudus? No, I wouldn't. Not Pat Matter Star over Kudus. Ishank says, hi Shai, all the best on Wildcard, thank you. I'm also on Wildcard with one dilemma. Gakpo plus DCL versus João Pedro and Longstaff. I have Enzo and Shalaba already. That's tough. That's real tough. And to be honest, I think it is too close to call. It really comes down, Ishank, to your minutes on Cody Gakpo. If you're confident that Gakpo is going to get 3 out of the next 4 starts, I would go Gakpo. It's okay, Ronak. I know it can be frustrating, man. Don't worry. I understand why people spam, to be honest. Hi, Shaw, you're good. Sorry for joining late. If it has been said already, bench boost 9. I'm not bench boosting a 9. Again, I have a dead spot, so don't love it. Bench Tarkovsky or NDI? I'll bench Tarkovsky because NDI can also get to DEFCON versus City. What do you think about Estevao, says Reese. I really like Estevao, if I'm being honest. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to extend this a small bit. Nice, okay. Let me bring back up chat. Let's do another little poll, shall we? Let's do... How many wildcards are active? Is wildcard active? I'm going to say about 25% of you guys are on wildcard. Bench Virgil, Van de Ven or Richards? I would bench Van de Ven. Why Obi instead of Mark Guy? Again, it's the 0.1. And I don't particularly want to be starting Mark Guy. Personally. FPLNX says, I just woke up. I just realised how badly written my message was. You're good, man. You're good. Hi, Chai. Would you sell Foden if you have one free transfer? 0 to spend. Who would you get? I would hold on to Foden. How much is Marquis at this point? I think he's 0. Or he's 4.4. That's actually an interesting question. Reason being is because if we are expecting this... Oh, he's also 4.3. He got a decrease. Oh, lads. Hold on a second. I'm just after... That's a great shout. If... Again, I don't know what we expect from Chelsea. I know I actually seen a few predictions with Guy's actually starting. That's a shout though. He could easily play due to Chelsea not having much selection. And I don't want to have a third Chelsea asset if I'm being honest. I'm happy to go with no Sanchez, Cucurella, etc. That's something to consider. And who brought that up? Great question. Who said that? Let me see. Tort, thank you, Tort, for making that suggestion because it's definitely on my mind. ZJ says Minoz or Richards. Minoz easily. I think Minoz is one of the best picks in the game. According to FBL team, Ballard is the top expected point scorer this week. Haaland in first and Salah in third. Interesting. I don't know how to feel about that, FPL top. If I already use bench boost, does it make sense to go and get a bench fodder? Oh, yeah, I would just have one of the cheapest. That's what I'm saying. Yes, thank you, FPL Talk. Because if that's the case, right? All right, let me quickly pencil this in real quick. So FPL Talk is saying, if we go with Mark Gui, who has got a price drop today, instead of Obi-Wan Kenobi, we can go into game week 9 with something like that. I could bench boost that. Again, that is not the nicest bench boost, I must say. Actually, that is a terrible bench boost. And I wouldn't play Guy in this game week, I don't think. Unless he started today, which I don't think is likely. But anyway, 4.3. I don't want to play him anyway, so why not? Great observation. So, let's quickly do a little scroll on the timeline, shall we? And see if there's anything going on. I don't expect anything before the deadline, to be honest. Again, we have what, an hour and 6 minutes until the deadline, lads. Anyway, what was I doing? So, Marquis, when do Chelsea's fixtures, when could I potentially bench boost? That's what I was looking at. Let's just say, in theory, Guy starts getting a few starts. I mean, that's not the worst bench boost. Wolves at home, Arsenal at home, Nottingham Forest away, and West Ham. If I wanted to get it out of the way. Anyway, definitely food for thought. And change is probably absolutely nothing, but let me put in Guy for the time being because I actually quite like that. And make the transfer. Shout out Thought. Alright, he's in. And a lot of people won't like that because maybe you feel like, you know, you'll want to go towards, I don't know, later down the line. A Tosin, a Trevor Chalobah, Cucurella, Sanchez. But for me, I don't see myself wanting to go there, especially off the back of a wildcard. If he gets game time, he could rise. Exactly. Sanchez, Burn, Paqueta, Chalobah, Pope, Anthony. Sanchez, Burn, Paqueta. Eddie says, hey Chai, one free transfer, 0.2 million in the bank. Bench boost this week and wildcard 13. Just quick shout out to anyone who's on the wildcard 13. I mean, great management this season so far if you're on that. And also good to see because you're doing things your own way. At the moment, I have Elliot Anderson. Would you move to anyone 5.6 or below? No, is the answer for that question. Have Bruno, so would move him to Semenyo instead? No, I would hold on to Elliot Anderson easily. Anand says, my dilemma is who to start between Dubravka Pope. I would start Pope. And between Byrne, Roden, Senesi, I would start Byrne and Roden. I don't want to go with double Newcastle defence, and I think Burnley Leeds game has goals in it. So Senesi. For me, Ananda, again, I'm not going to try make the decision for you because that's not my style. When I answer the questions, I say what I would do. I would play Roden. I feel like Roden and this fixture for Leeds in general is quite good. Should I keep Tijani Reinders in my wildcard? I don't think Tijani Reinders is a bad hold or a good hold. I think come game week, again, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 13, to be honest, we're going to want Tijani Reinders back. And the reason being is, I imagine a lot of people are going to want to double up, if not triple up, on both City and Liverpool in that period. I'm hoping I'm going to be 2 transfers ahead with Salah in place already. Has to be Obi-Wan Kenobi, Chai. I mean, it could be, but again, I don't mind going with Mark Gee either. I'm at 86k while following your templates, just slightly different decisions. Yeah, there's very little in, to be honest, my own teams. I always feel like if you can listen to other people, I don't think the game is necessarily about, advice. I don't think there's much in advice, and to be honest, it can make you worse as a manager. What I would say is, where it comes in handy is if you can take advice and put your own spin on it and how you feel on it, you can do great. Because that way you're informed and you're making your own decisions. Brendan says, I'm sure you've already answered, but why Guy instead of a different team? Because I don't mind being tripled on the Chelsea guys. He just got a price drop today, so he actually might get minutes. He got 13 minutes in his last game against Liverpool. Triple captain Salah, high risk, high reward. I don't love it, Mike Will, if I'm being honest. Royce and Gabriel or Richards and Eze? Tough one, that. Real tough one. For me, the safer one is Royce and Gabriel. I would be tempted on Richards and Eze, depending on your risk appetite. Start Trevor Chalobah or Roden this game week? I would start Roden. Should I start Caicedo or Mateta? I would start the attacker all day. Mateta. Royce and Gabriel or Richards and Eze? Answered that already. Sally says, is Salah, Eze and Enzo, Paqueta, Cliver a risky mid lineup? That is definitely a small bit risky in comparison what the rest of the managers who I'm seeing on my feed are what they are doing. But yeah, I don't mind it. Would you pick Petrovic over Kelleher? Slightly, barely, yeah, I would. Alright, another little scroll on the timeline to make sure we don't miss anything important. Let's see what the feed is saying. Nice one, Tom. Fair play. Alright, I have a question for you guys. Let's see how my FPL chat is. Let's bring up a poll, shall we? The question is going to be, how many top 10k finishes do you have? It's okay if it's 0. Again, it doesn't matter. Let's do a poll. So let's do a poll. Let's go. How many top 10k finishes? Let's go 0, which is probably going to be the most likely one. Top 10Ks are rare, lads. 1 plus. 2 plus. And if it's more, let me know in chat. I'm intrigued. What's your total team value of this team, Chai? Great question. Team value is currently... where is my team value? Okay, lads, am I tweaking? Why can I find it? Transfers, that's probably where it is it? How am I an FPL manager and I don't even know where each tabs are? I'm actually stuttering here, lads. Hold on, let me go back to pick team. I'm sure chat will inform me. Because I'm a novice. Absolute browser novice. By the way, the reason... This is funny, because... I never use browser unless I'm streaming. I never ever use the browser. I only ever use the mobile version, lads. First year playing, interesting. Jamie says 0. Go to points, okay. Points, I'm here. I don't feel like this tells you because this is my last game week's value. Of course, we're after picking up some value since game week history, maybe. Nope. Lads, how am I such a bad man? I don't even know where it is. That is poor. Piss poor for me. Go to points. It's under your rank. Under status. Under your points. Lads, am I an idiot? I swear it should be here. Total team value or something. Ah, there it is, lads. There it is. We got it. 100.6, 0.1 in the bank. Again, my route to team value has been a slight bit different this year. When you consider I don't have the likes of a Senesi or a Semenyo. Tout is shouting status. Oh man, I must be so frustrating to watch. Sorry, lads. Oh, I'd be raging if I was watching me. Like, I'd be like, this idiot, man. Yeah, I am a fraud, Matthew Dart. I can't lie. I'm an absolute fraud. Where was I getting at, though? Like I said, yeah, I have value tied up in different players. You know, because I'm not going with a Saka, double Arsenal. My value lies in 0.6 in Erling Haaland and 0.3 in Mohamed Kudus. Other than that, I've kind of just picked up on team value the other way around, if you know what I mean. I've had a price drop from João Pedro. I've had a price drop from Mo Salah. Players that people don't want anymore. So yeah, I'm kind of doing it in different ways, if you know what I'm saying. Hello, Matthew, by the way. Let me know, Matthew, how you are getting on this season so far. What is your current rank? And where are you in the For the Gang League? Let me know. Is Enzo starting? I think he is likely to start for sure. Chai, can we have a look through the 6.5 millions and lower for the best options? Yeah, of course we can. I love when people put in questions in a nice manner. It makes it really easy to go, yeah, let's do that for him. / her. Alright, let's actually go from, let's go from 6.9 and down because how do we want to filter this? Let's go by price, obviously. Alright. Martinelli, Trossard, Rodgers wouldn't be touching off. Savinho, Elanga, no. Johnson, no. Kudus is probably where I'd start the list, if I'm being honest. I keep talking about Kudus, and my feeling is I don't necessarily think that he's going to blow, you know, people out of the water every single game week. But with the tougher fixtures and with Frank not necessarily having an attack that clicks, the numbers haven't been there for Spurs yet. Kudus is just so influential to how Spurs play. And if he can just add the GA into, what's that saying, another feather into his cap. Because he's so good with the dribbling stats, which is decent for bonus, and he's quite good in the duels. I feel like he'd be quite good for bonus if he is going to get a goal. 6.8 million for a top 6 striker, or a top 6 forward, who starts every single game and gets 90. Look at the list at this price point, lads. Is there another forward on this list who plays for the top 6, who's getting 90 minutes on a weekly basis and starts in the front 3? No. That's what it comes down to for me. If he played for United, if he was 6.5 million and played for United every single week and he was on the form Kudus was on, I feel like everyone would own him. If it was Chelsea, for example, if Esteval was nailed 90 minutes every single week and played 90, he would be in many more teams. So it is not necessarily because I think Kudus is going to get a brace every single week. It comes more down to the value. So let's move on from Kudus. Next, we've got Jeremy Doku, who I wouldn't be sold on either. Again, City are in a place where the likes of a Shirky is coming back around for City. Again, not that that necessarily impacts Doku's position, but it potentially means that Foden could be pushed out wide, perhaps. Matthew, what do you mean you're currently bottom with 368 points? Come on, man. How can you say I'm after falling off when I almost have 100 more points than you? Come on, man. But love that, Matthew. Again, I'll cut you some slack. It's your first season. No City and Liverpool players is also a good observation. And I'll allow it this time around. Alright, sorry, I know I'm waffling. Declan Rice is probably the only one I would consider at 6.5 here. I wouldn't be buying NDI, personally. Again, bad opening fixture. I won't be buying Iwobi, Szoboszlai, Bruno Guimaraes. By the way, let me look at Bruno Guimaraes' numbers this season. Not great. Again, a 14-pointer last game weekend. Not unbelievable for DEFCON either. So I wouldn't be considering personally. Garnacho wouldn't be sold on. Matthew might tell me otherwise as a United fan. Next we've probably Barnes. But again, Gordon is back. You don't love that. So the actual 6.5 range is not great. I wouldn't be considering Ahmed, unfortunately, as of yet. Mateus Tell, no. Gittins, no. Yankuba Minta at 6 million, I don't mind at all. I like Minta, to be honest. And he's also the best midfielder who is also good at attacking output for DEFCON. If you look at his DEFCON numbers, 6, 7, 6, 10, and also 12 versus City. Again, he's not going to get it every week, but he's definitely quite aggressive in the press. One of the best presses in the league, might I add. Next is probably just Caicedo. Don't love many, if any, of these options. Who else we got? Yeah, and that's where the next one in Elliot Anderson I can't speak, lads. Elliot Anderson comes in at 5.4 million. He's the underrated one for me. Forest have been absolutely shocking, don't get me wrong. But look at his DEFCON for 5.4, lads. Sorry, I'm just going to blow my nose. Look at the DEFCON numbers, lads. We are having a different conversation. If at least two of these he's gotten DEFCON in. So thank you, Maximilian Reuter, again. He's become a channel member. He's a familiar face to the channel. Been a member before, but welcome to A Cup of Chai. For anyone who doesn't know, we provide a option to join as a channel member. And when you join, again, you get access to my WhatsApp group. It is nothing special. Again, you don't have to do it. It's just a nice way to support the channel. And you also get access to the WhatsApp group, which I always put in my thoughts and information early. And it's a nice little tight-knit community with about 15 active managers in it. So thank you, Maximilian, for becoming A Cup of Chai once again. And we appreciate your support. And, getting in early before we get the 10k subscribers. And we're pushing on as a channel, lads. Consistently getting good numbers now. And I'm happy making the content, lads. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. So thank you, Maximilian, for the support. And if any questions you do have, of course, the channel members get answered early. So before I close off on Elliot Anderson, let me quickly keep talking before I get to answering the questions. But yeah, look at the DEFCON numbers, lads. 89 DEFCON so far as a midfielder this season. Again, he's been phenomenal as a player. Again, Forest have looked really poor. I just wonder, with these 4 difficult fixtures in the next 5, I mean, I would be sure he's going to get DEFCON versus Chelsea, Bournemouth, and United, and also Liverpool. And thank you for subscribing, TNS. So yeah, the DEFCON numbers for a 5.4 midfielder is great. He also does provide a small bit of attacking upside. When I say small bit, again, he's playing in an 8 position now. But I just wonder if he's going to be a bit more attacking with Ange Postecoglou being the manager. So let me quickly go back to my own team. I hope that answered your questions on the 6 million mids. 7 to 5 million mids. But here's my own team again for anyone who's just joined us, and I am fairly locked in. We've got Mo Salah captained against Manchester United. Can we buy João Pedro this morning? George is asking. Of course we can. You can now buy him after his price fall. Hello, Chai. Would you prefer Richards plus Minsa or Senesi plus Reinders? That is a tough one, Maximilian. Long term, I prefer Senesi and Reinders. Right now, for the next 4, I prefer Richards and Minta. Make it that as you will. It's not a definitive answer, but that's how I feel on it. And do hit the like button, lads. Let's make the like goal of the stream 200 likes. I hope you're enjoying the stream, lads. It is good to be back. Delighted as always. Praneet says, who must I need for the next 2 game weeks if I ship out Bruno for someone? I don't mind holding on to Bruno for the next 3, Praneet. Should I move on Xavi Simons? I would not personally, Karen. Again, returns have not come yet for Xavi Simons, but I still feel like he's going to be a player that can tick away nicely in the next 5. I understand if you want to sell him, though. Do I expect Enzo to start? I do. How would you get to Semenyo in week 12, says Taught. Good question. So, I've already planned this. So, in game week 12, what I would be planning is, again, hoping to roll 2 or 3 transfers until then. If we look at Arsenal's fixtures, I don't think they're bad. Again, Tottenham at home, and you might think it's a bit of biasism. I don't know if that's a word. But I would be looking to get rid of either Mohamed Kudus, who's got terrible fixtures, or Ebe Eze, because at this point, again, we have the international break from game week 11 to 12. Therefore, Martin Odegaard is expected to be back, so I don't know if I'd like to hold on to Eze at this point in the season. So I would probably move him on to Semenyo. Now, you're probably thinking, again, you don't have enough money in the bank to do that. But what I could do is potentially also downgrade Mohamed Kudus. Again, and the one who I would be looking at this point is to get Tijani Reinders in a week early with Newcastle away and play 4 at the back. So what I would do is I would play Jurriën Timber for this game week versus Tottenham. And Mohamed Kudus, unfortunately, it pains me to get rid of a Kudus and bring in an Arsenal defender, but to make up the funds, I would bench Tijani Reinders and play what's his name? Jurriën Timber. And then when you look at game week 13, I mean, that is set up phenomenally. You get Leeds at home with Tijani Reinders, of course, and you get Sunderland away for Antoine Semenyo. And then this is the point of the season where I've made a transfer for this game week in 13, which is Cody Gakpo in. Again, planning down the line is hard to do because things change so fast. But if you were to ask me right now, and everything went perfectly, that is what I would be planning to do, and what I think is what I'm likely to do down the line. And thanks Maximilian for, of course, becoming a member again. And if anyone else does want to become a member and access to the WhatsApp group where we don't gatekeep anything anyway, but a good way to support the channel, do hit the join button and become a channel member. Again, really appreciate it, lads. So let's go back to the poll. For 0 top 10k finishes, interestingly enough, 66%. We have one for one top 10k finish is 20%, and for 2+ is 13%. That is great. I'm going to assume the people who are 13% come with experience, of course. Is Enzo playing? I don't have an answer for you because we haven't got a leak as of yet. Let me go on Twitter and let's do a cheeky little scroll. Who'd you start? Alright, still nothing as of yet, lads. But yeah, do let me know in chat, right? Again, I'm trying to be as interactive as possibly as I can. I can't get back to every single question, unfortunately. But what would you rate my wildcard out of 10? When I ask you this question, I understand it. It's not necessarily what you would go with. And if you don't like a lot of the players, I do get it. For me, what it comes down to is I just feel like a lot of managers are overlooking Salah. I could be horribly wrong, lads, and I could be 1 million in the next 2 game weeks. But it is just a risk that I'm willing to take. I just don't see Salah finished as an asset. Just don't see it. So I get it if you don't like it. If you give it a 6, for it to be a 10, it has to be the exact team you want to go with. Matthew Doherty says, why Joe Rodon? Great fixture this week, Matthew. Leeds are around 35% chance of a clean sheet. Rodon is also really good for defensive contributions, which he gets 2 points for. So let me quickly bring Rodon up and show you here what he's averaged in recent game weeks. So he has averaged almost 10, to be honest. He's missed out twice on a 10 and got a 6 last week at Tottenham. But you'd expect him to get DEFCON in this game. So if he has a good chance of a clean sheet and a good chance of DEFCON, you want to play him. So that's my thoughts on Rodon. And why am I benching Mukiele? Because I think that Wolves are going to score. It's as simple as that. Double Burnley defence. I don't love it. Just woke up, lads. What's the news on Enzo? We've not got anything new. Why is Bone ignored? He's not necessarily ignored, but when I've got Haaland, Pedro and Haaland, I cannot fit Jared Bone in. Burnley beat Sunderland and are good against championship teams. I can see what you're saying there, Matthew, but again, I look at the game state of it. I think, what was I saying? You know, Burnley are decent, right? But when it comes to the bottom half, playing the bottom half, for me, what it comes down to is, like, I always feel like they're going to be cagey games. Neither want to lose because it's a big game because it's newly promoted sides. So I feel like it's going to be a small bit cagier. I can see a 1-0 either way, if not a draw. So that's just why. Bro, when are you bench boosting? Game week 17, 18, 19. I can do Salah with the 5 free transfers to Alexander Isak. That's what I'm planning. Start Larson or Iliman Ndiaye. To be honest, I don't love the quotes that are coming out about Larson. Of course, it's a great fixture. If you think Larson's going to start, I would put Larson. Again, I do expect Ndiaye to be good for DEFCON this week, though. Ryan O'Neill says, Gordon or Gakpo on wildcard, no Salah. Yeah, Ryan, that's a hard question, man. And I would be inclined to go with Gordon, to be honest, because I just don't know what Gakpo's minutes look like going forward with Ekitike and Isak, of course. I need to see a bit more before I make a decision. Should I take a hit to bring Saka and save Bruno, or just do Bruno to Saka? I think they can both return this game week. Well, if you think they can both return, hold on to Bruno Fernandes. Again, I'm sure we have an array of United fans, and playing against Liverpool, United fans are always quite hopeful. So, to the United fans in chat, give give some hope to any of the Bruno owners. So, let me know what you think. MR says, my internet cut out before I asked, would you choose Senesi or Mark Guy and Anderson to bench boost in game week 10? I would not have Mark Guy expecting him to start in game week 10. But yeah, I don't know what your question is there, sorry. I'm struggling with a fifth midfielder out of Xhaka, Reiner, Somerville. I like to look at Somerville, but I think he could go big under Nuno. If it was me, I would just play it safe with Elliot Anderson. I think he'll take away so nicely and he's just not talked about. Alex Doherty in chat, he says, get rid of Salah. He's getting smoked this weekend, getting minus points incoming. I hope you're wrong, Alex. Something in my heart of hearts tells me that's not a likely occurrence, Alex. I love the wishful thinking as usual. Alex, it is cute though. That is cute. Bruno can't even score pens. Yeah, no. Bruno, as poor as he's been, I feel like he's not necessarily been poor, right? He's just lacking confidence, you know, missing 2 penalties now. And he has had a bad game or two. But for me, I'm still quite high on Bruno as an FPL asset. Again, what is the 9 million? I feel like when this fixture run comes for United, which is sooner rather than later, after Liverpool. Still definitely a good option that I would consider going forward. Again, it's just hard if I've got Salah and Haaland. Hi Chai, my wildcard is activated. Should I bring in Antoine Semenyo? Never owned him this season and I feel the boat is long gone. Look lads, I've always said, the game is not about bringing in the players who've done the best. The game is bringing in and having the best timing on assets. If you can bring in players when they do well and get rid of them when they're going to be quiet, I mean, you're going to win FPL. For me on Antoine Semenyo, again, he's been one of the best players this season, no doubt. The fixture run is just not there for Semenyo for me in the next 4. I'm more than happy to have to bring him in later down the line in game week 12 when he plays West Ham and game week 13 when he plays against Leeds. So where I stand on Semenyo is I get what you're saying. I wouldn't necessarily say the boat has passed in that sense. I think he's still an amazing option to hold and good value. But is he better value than the likes of Asar, Kudus, Enzo? Up for debate. Is Declan Rice a good option on wildcard? Yes. Is Anderson a must? No. Choi, Voldemade, Mince, Richards, DCL, Enzo and Gay. DCL will be benched most weeks. I have no issue with DCL playing some weeks. Again, he does get a lot of slack because statistically he is the worst in the league from a finishing standpoint. Over the last 3 or 4 seasons since he's been in, his finishing output and XG conversion worse than league by a mile. But he brings a lot more than just finishing and goals. You know, he's the link up man. He's the big number 9 that links the play for Leeds. And I think he's looked quite well this season for Leeds. Likely also on penalties, might I add. He comes in at a price point where you don't expect him to score every single week. You know, if you look at it this way, right? What? Erling Haaland is 14.6. And Calvert-Lewin is what? 5.5? Well, you'd probably expect Calvert-Lewin to score in 1 and 3. And let's just say you expect Haaland to score every single game week. Well, that makes up the value. Of course, Haaland has the extra value because you're likely going to captain him. But again, just things to consider if you're not going to be starting Calvert-Lewin every single week. Should I bench boost Dubravka, Richarlison, VDV or Senesi? I would bench Van de Ven this week. Voldemade or Richarlison? Long-term Voldemade. Richarlison I would say has a 60% chance of starting this game week. Would you take Gabriel over Timber if you had the funds? I still think Timber is better value at this point in the season. But if I had the money, I would do Gabriel just for surety of minutes. Yeah, I don't like downgrading Pedro though, that's the problem. Pope and a 6.5 midfielder or Sanchez and Enzo? 6.5 million midfielder is probably Sar. Sar and Enzo is quite nice, it's tidy. Alright, let's do another little scroll on the timeline, lads. Again, we don't want to miss any early team news if there is anything. Thank you to the 257 of you who are in here before today's deadline. Again, massive support on the channel. I just want to take a second to look at our channel. I say error, again, error because the channel would be nothing without you. 9k subscribers we've just hit, by the way. I didn't even realize. And 99 videos. I don't know if this is the 100th stream or what's the crack with that. But anyway, lads, like I've been saying, the support on the last few videos have been amazing. Consistently, at a minimum, around 5k. Or averaging around 5k. So I can't thank you enough. And your support is not going unnoticed. It's really motivating on a weekly basis when I go to sit down and record for you guys. I mean, I've been getting a lot of kind messages also through Twitter and in the comment section. So thank you so much for 9k, lads. Again, we are pushing towards 10k. And I have no doubt we're going to be there sooner rather than later by the rate this channel is growing. Hopefully we can match the rank with that. I'm sure a lot of people in here are watching because historically we've had a good rank. And also, a great start to this season so far. I imagine if we can continue the good rank, we'll be there in no time. Good morning, Chess Econ. I hope you're well. Good luck in your wildcard. Thank you. Matthew says, thank you for subscribing. Hafriz. What did Matthew say? He said, just notice you captain Salah. Don't piss me off more. Yeah, no, Matthew, I understand if it's not for you, but I hope you can understand. Again, I'm not one to talk about stats every day, but don't know if you've noticed, Liverpool are expected to get the most goals this game week, 2.20 versus Manchester United. And I can't look past that, Matthew Doherty, when I've gone with the likes of Mo Salah in my team. I do expect Liverpool to do well this game week. And if Liverpool are going to do well, I don't necessarily think that Salah's washed, so I do expect him to be amongst the goals. It's as easy as that for me, lads. Thank you for subscribing, Ruddy. Much love. Would you choose, or who would you choose over Enzo if you had 6.2 million? Anderson, I would go. Reinders or Iliman and Jai? To start this particular game week, I would go Reinders. What are your thoughts on JSL as a punt? I just feel like he can't get firing, and Wolves look really poor. He can't get fit, so I would like to hold off. Mud says, can you please answer? Let me scroll up and see what he said. Bro, will Neto start this game week? I think it's more likely than not that he starts. Would you sell him Buemo? I don't mind selling Buemo, if I'm being honest. Would you transfer Elliot Anderson for Minta? I would not. Thoughts on Paqueta to Minta? I would prefer Paqueta to hold on to. Chai, I need some redemption from you talking me out of Jury and Timber captain last week. Would you start Mukiele, Richards or Senesi? What I would do is I would start Richards. I can't tell you the right answer though. The outcome I cannot predict. Who is your favourite 4.5 million defender? For me, it's Joachim Anderson, without a doubt. I feel like come, game week 10, I think everyone's going to want to own him. If you had 0.5 less, who would you downgrade, good sir? I just want to say, also, I would not copy my wildcard. I don't think it is the greatest wildcard. And when I say I don't think it's the greatest wildcard, what I mean by that is, I understand that people don't have the risk appetite I do. I'm more than happy to either be 500k rank or top 100k. I'm more than happy to be top 1k rather than top 10k. When I play this game, lads, I want you to understand, I want to finish as astronomically high as possible. It doesn't make a difference to me if I finish 100k, 50k or 250k. In my eyes, it's not good enough. So I want to be in and around the top 100, top 1k, top 10k. And that is not going to happen unless you have a big risk appetite. And I'll tell you that for free. There's a reason some of the greatest managers, analytically or historically, don't have a top 200, top 500, top 1000. And some do, don't get me wrong. Some have even won it. But the likelihood is, if you play safe and well, you're going to be between 5 and 10k rather than 1 and bracket emoji, and greater than emoji. So I want to finish as high as possible, and I want to have fun in the meantime. I really believe in the players I pick. If you don't like them, beats me. Do you know what I mean? Don't go with them. It's okay. I'm okay with the fact that people want to do things different. Hello, FPL Mackham. How are you? Made some mad move. I've sold Watkins to Isidore. So I can afford Saka next week. Okay, that makes sense. You saved it there. Yeah, I don't mind it. Don't love it. Don't hate it. Thoughts on Trippier as a differential? Again, he's another one I don't love, Ryan O'Neill. I would prefer Burn. Who to bench? Alderete, Senesi, Gehi. I would be inclined to bench Senesi. Lamin Kant says, bro, are you trying to play with differential players? I want to hear your thoughts about your wildcard. I don't know if you've just joined, but I've just spent 5 minutes talking about that. Jack says, Anderson, Reinders or Paqueta to bring in or to start this week? If I could choose one to bring in this week, it would be Paqueta. Long term, in game week 12, we're going to want Reinders. And the overall between now and 19, let's say, I think Elliot Anderson. I think Elliot Anderson is so underrated. Mark says, hey, I've been loving your content over the international break. Can you recap on why you're captaining Salah? Again, it doesn't come down more to the fact that I don't think Salah is washed. I don't know where this has come from. Again, I've been watching Liverpool. He's been underwhelming. I think people really compare him to last season's Mo Salah. He was never going to pick up those numbers that he picked up on last season. Salah has aged, what, 3 months since the end of last season? Do you think his legs have suddenly fallen off? He's not got a big injury. If if he had gotten a big injury or was out for a significant amount of time, I'd say fair. That's the first thing. For me, I don't think it's necessarily down to Salah. I think Liverpool's attack in general has been poor. I said it since the start of the season, since that game, since their second or third game of the season. They don't look like they're clicking in general as a team. When you bring in lots of different signings, again, RC Wenger has often talked about this, but I think it was to never bring in more than 5 transfers in the season. Reason being, because when you bring in big players, not just big players, again, that's besides the fact that they brought in the likes of an Isaac, a Wirtz, a Kirkes, who are massive price tags. But they also changed the dressing room. Liverpool won the season last year without buying a singular player. Of course, Liverpool were going to have to see some sort of transition this season. And it's going to take time. Isaac, like Andy Slaughter says, has not been fit because he hasn't had a pre-season for 5 weeks. Ekitike, who is new to the team, Florian Wirtz and Cody Gakpo signed a new contract. It's not going to click like that for Liverpool. And it's not surprising that Salah done so well last season, if I'm being honest. When you don't sign a player, you look at what you have in front of you and you look at how can I get the most of it. And of course, Mo Salah was the option this season. And now Andy Slaughter is going to look at his team and go, all right, we have a different lineup this time around. How are we going to make this work? And it's just not clicked yet for Liverpool. So for me, it comes down to the fact that I don't think Salah's washed, 1. 2, I think Liverpool are by far the best team in the league. And 3, if things click for Liverpool, do you know who I think are going to be amongst the goals? And if he starts returning with United, Brentford away, Villa at home, City away, Forest at home, 5 great fixtures. And then in 13, he plays... First off, he's the best captain in game week 12 at Forest. In 13, of course, he's got West Ham. And he plays Sunderland at home before playing Leeds. He's going to be a dangerous not own come then, lads, if he could get any significant form between now and then. So that's all on Mo Salah. I just think the upside is there on him. And that's just me. So that's my little rant. By the way, 300 of you guys in here. Thank you so much again. And do hit the like button. Let's see if we can get over 200 likes. Let me do a little scroll on the timeline because we need to see if we can get any leaks. And Andy Martin is spreading the leaks already. I don't know if I've missed something or anything, but he's trying to fearmonger from what I understand. And by the way, let me pull up chat because I don't want to be missing any of your chats. Hold on a second. Let me scroll up. I think we're good. But I hope you understand that, and I hope they are fair points. For me, there's enough in it to go with them. Alright, like I said, let's do a little scroll on the timeline. We don't want to miss anything. Oh, I didn't even know G was retweeting. Legend. Where am I? Alright, quick little scroll on the timeline, lads, to make sure. And by the way, if you're new and joining me for the first time, welcome to the channel, lads. We do things a bit differently here, and I hope you find this content somewhat valuable. Again, we do things a bit rogue here. As a manager, I'm not the safest. My risk appetite is very high. Again, like I said, I'd rather be playing with a lot of risk because it is way more fun for me. And as a content creator, I don't hold a lot of weight in my rank. The rank does 2 things for me. Better rank, better views. But to be honest, I'm happy to make content if the views are not high regardless. So it is largely irrelevant. And in general, I want to pick players I want to pick because I believe in them. And if they do well, the likelihood is I'm likely going against the template. Therefore, I'm going to see massive gains. Do I think Cody Gakpo starts? If I'm being honest, I would be very surprised if he does not start. If I look at it that way, I would say he has a 80% chance to start in my eyes. Bro, I have Foden and Reinders, but scared to bench Semenyo and Kudus. Yeah, Reinders is an uncomfortable benching every week, but I would bench him in this case. For sure. Sorry, lads. Thoughts on Van de Ven, or Virgil van Dijk, Bruno Gyökeres to Gabriel Saka, Pedro, -4. Or do it next week. I would do it next week. Derek O'Reilly, congrats on 9k. Legend Derek, thank you as usual for joining me. You never ever miss these streams. I think you've been one who's been here in every single stream, it seems. Start Caicedo or Bruno? I would start Bruno. He's likely to get DEFCON in my opinion. Hi Chai, Royce, Bowen and Voldemade or Saka, Voldemade and Thiago? Royce, Bowen and Voldemade. Royce or... That's a tough one, man. I like Saka, Voldemade and Thiago. Assuming you're not going to start Thiago every single week. Hi Chai, Royce, Bowen... Sorry, I answered that. Tarkovsky, Dubravka, Roden, DCL bench boost. Love that. Rogers, Watkins out for who? Looking for Paqueta and João Pedro. Lardy, I wouldn't overthink it. I agree with that. Paqueta and João Pedro are nice moves. Are you bench boosting next week? No, I don't plan on it. Morning Chai, hope you're well. Good to see you, John Boltman. A lot of Johnny's ultras in here. Scott Johnson says, or Scott Johnson is also in here. CC says Roden or Anderson and Paqueta and Reinders. Again, it is not a fair comparison. You are, 4.1 plus 5.4 plus or 5 point whatever Paqueta is and Reinders. Different price points. I prefer Roden and Anderson if you have unlimited budget. Andrew Clemens says, excellent channel Chai. Thank you, Andrew, appreciate it. FPL Mackham says, why I still have wildcard and react to Salah straight away. Yeah, Salah is definitely not for everyone. Convince me to go Salah over Haaland. I have both. Jude, I'm not going to because I understand why you'd go with Haaland. He's the most on-form player in the world, bar Harry Kane. So I can't convince you otherwise. Again, we are going to be scrolling on the timeline as usual, lads, to try catch any leaks. Doesn't look like we've got anything as of yet. DCL, Paqueta, Minoz, Bowen, Xhaka, Richards. Which is the best choice on wildcard? Chai. W Harry Kane, says Jovan. Yeah, W Harry Kane, man. Kais. I prefer DCL, Paqueta, Minoz, assuming you're setting up a bench boost and you don't want to start DCL every week. Would you do Van de Ven and Mbeumo to Minoz and a 7 million midfielder? I think I would. I like those moves. Mukiele or Diakate to start? Thanks, Shai. I would start Mukiele. Need a Enzo leak? I don't know if we necessarily need one. If you're on wildcard, I'd be more than happy to play Mukiele this week over Enzo. Hi Chai, if I'm missing out on fun, 0.6. Who would you buy? Burn instead of Timber or Reinders instead of Enzo? If not, who? In that case, I would go Elliot Anderson instead of Enzo and actually use the funds elsewhere. Senesi or Richards? This game week, I would play Richards. Start Richards or Mukiele? For me, I'm starting Richards. I fancy this home game for Palace. 20 minutes to sell Salah, says Maliki. Go away, Maliki. Any replacements for Mbeumo? Not necessarily. You could easily go to any of the four in my midfield. Would you sell Foden? No, I wouldn't sell Foden. Good midfielders under 5 million. Xhaka? He's the only one I would go to. Twisty says, yo. Hello, Twisty. How are we keeping? Is Richarlison a sell for a bench boost? If I'm bench boosting, I'll hold on to him this week. Thank you, Richard, for subscribing. Appreciate you. Would you start Anthony or Sarr? Assuming Burnley Anthony. I would start Anthony. I would be tempted as well. Gyökeres says João Pedro. No. I would like to say that Gyökeres is definitely still a decent option, lads. I would hold on to him. Boss says start one of Van de Ven, Senesi or Joe Roden. I'd be inclined to start Roden in my opinion. It is close on Senesi and Roden though, I would say. Reinders or Paqueta? Paqueta. Regrettably sold Kudus on wildcard. Now I understand that. Kudus is a hard sell because again, like I said, top 6 player getting 90 minutes every week and the talisman of this team on corners. I quite like him. Thank you, Abdul, for subscribing. Much love. Ahmed says, how are you, Chai? I'm good. I'm very good. Great that football is back. Absolutely love it. Would you play Roden over Senesi? Yes, I would. Alright, one thing to note actually is, look how many 3 o'clock games we got today, lads. Today is going to be a good day of football. My phone is going to be hopping. Let me know in chat, what game are you going to be watching? For me, I probably will watch the early kickoff. And I might throw on the Palace and Bournemouth game. Not only is there a bit riding in that from my own team, but I feel like that's probably the best game of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, realistically. Brighton and Newcastle is also a good shout. Let me know though, unless you're a fan, you're watching someone else, or who you are watching. One last time, Spacine says Bowen and Byrne or Voldemade and Cucurella. You know, if I'm being dead honest, that is so close. Really, really close that. I'm going to say Bowen and Byrne. Reason being, Byrne is probably better for DEFCON, and Bowen is more of a proven asset than Voldemade. I'll be at work, so best of luck. Joven says Liverpool, Man United for sure. That is not on until tomorrow. Time to do your price predictions, or my player predictions. Yeah, let's do it. So quickly, lads, as you know, every single deadline, I predict how many points each player on my team is going to get. Hold off on your questions for just a second and leave me waffle on. I'm going to do this section. I'm going to go on a quick scroll on Twitter to make sure we've not got a leak. And then I'll answer your questions for the remainder of the stream. So, if I'm thinking of my projections for this week, to be honest, I'm not too hopeful of a clean sheet from Nick Pope. I'm actually going to go 3 points for Nick Pope. I think Brighton have been a decent attack this season, and they've showed that consistently. I'm going to go with Joe Rodon, 7-pointer. I'm going to go yellow card, clean sheet, and DEFCON. Maybe 1 bonus in there. Chris Richards, I actually think, has a chance, a decent chance in my own eyes to get a clean sheet. So I'm going to go with an 8-pointer. It's a stretch, but I have him for a reason. Zamo Live, thank you for subscribing. Jurien Timber, I'm going to go with a 6-pointer. Nothing more, nothing less. Ebe Eze, I'm going to go with a 7-pointer. I think he's going to open his goal catalogue against Fulham. Again, missed a high XG chance in his last game, so quite hopeful owning Eze. I almost said Ebe Sarr. Ismaila Sarr with Bournemouth at home. I think this is a decent fixture for Sarr, of course. I'm going to say 6-pointer here. Potentially get an assist. Mohamed Kudus, again, I'll be happy with an assist. I'm going to say 6-pointer. Villa are going to set up in a way where they always do, where it's quite tactically and a systematic approach from Unai Emery. He always tends to do quite well against the top 6. So I don't think this is going to be a smashing for Spurs. I think it's going to be a smash and grab, if anything, like we've seen with Bodo Glimt and also Leeds in the last 2 games. Mo Salah at home to United, I feel like he could come home with a 24-pointer, lads. I wouldn't be throwing the armband in him or on him if I thought otherwise. A goal and assist, I think I could be seeing, and I'm hoping for, again, of course, with Mo Salah. With United at home. Enzo, who I'm hopeful of a start, of course. I think he could get an assist. 6-pointer, I'm going to say here. Erling Haaland, I'm going to say, with Everton at home, he's going to get his first blank of the season. Nothing to do with Erling Haaland, but more so the actual fixture. David Moyes, Tarkowski, low block. I feel like he might miss a chance or two, and he might have his first... Is it his first blank of the season? If he blanks this game week. Second blank of the season. How could I forget? Blanking away to Spurs, of course. And João Pedro, I think, is going to score. I think he could see a max bonus and a 9-pointer here. So, what does that add up? Let me quickly put it in chat before I answer more of your questions, lads. Sorry, let me quickly bring back up my OBS. Ooh, I didn't mean to do that. Thank you for subscribing, Samir. Much love. 330 people here. By the way, lads, the like goal, like I said, is 200. I don't know if we've already hit it, but smash that like button for me anyway. And if it is over 200, let's try to get to 250. So one little scroll on the timeline to see if we've got any leaks before I get to answering your questions. Let me quickly put in to chat what I said my predictions were for this game week. Again, I said 3 for Pope. What else did I say? I said, actually, I can't remember. I'll go back and tot it up for me. So 40 minutes until the deadline. Let's see if we can get any quick news. Little scroll real quick. We'll refresh the timeline as well to see if we've got any further information on Chelsea. I personally don't think we're going to get anything until about 15 minutes after. Again, I'm going to do another refresh 5 minutes until the stream is over. Let me actually go into my following because people will be retweeting if there's anything. Yeah, doesn't look like anything, lads, significant as of yet. But stay tuned, I'll keep you posted. Alright, let's get back to answering some of your questions like I did say. Maliki. What a... So, first off, thank you for subscribing, PCAR. Secondly, Maliki has donated 5 gifted memberships. We have never ever, from the history of the channel, had gifted memberships. And Maliki has opened it up for us. So, Maliki, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And thank you so much. And shout out to the lads who've received a membership. So that's John Boatman, who is a Ajani Ultra, FPL Macam, also Sarvi, ISO Magic, and also the main man himself, Maliki. So, well done, lads, and thank you so much, Maliki, for the super chat, lads. That is deadly, and I'm sure the lads are appreciative of it as well. Can you only pop in to say hi? Team looks solid. Thank you, Tiny Fungus. I do appreciate it. What a guy, Maliki. That is amazing. Thank you so much. I don't know what to say when people drop a bomb on me like that. Other than I really appreciate it. ISO Magic, do show face if you are in here. But yeah, lads, if you want to send me on your numbers to be involved in the WhatsApp group, do send them on. That way you'll be involved in not only my own, but Janny's Ultras members group chat. Send me on Twitter and I'll get you added. And for anyone else who wants to become a member, do hit the like button and subscribe and click the join button, and I'll get you added. Thank you, Javier, sorry, for subscribing. Let me get back to some of your questions before we get to the deadline. Reinders transfer to Paqueta, is it worth it? Not this particular game week. I'd be happy enough to hold off. Brother, what to do with Richards or Mbuemo or stack to start? I would be starting Chris Richards. Bruno and Gyökeres to Saka, and Pedro. I love that, but not this week. H, I hope you're well. Kudos to Eze. I would not be doing kudos to Eze. New member here says Zion. Zion, I don't see the yoke beside your name. But welcome to the stream. Boysa or Enzo? That is tough. I think I play the fixtures and go Enzo. Volamade and Senesi or Bone and Truffert? Long term, Volamade and Senesi. FPL Macam has the emoji. Good to see you, FPL Macam. Henry says, thoughts on the youth as a differential. I love it. I think he comes in at good value. What is he, 4.4? Royce, Anderson or Reinders on wildcard? I would go Anderson, Reese. Of course I'm here. Good to see you, ISO Logic. Marshall or Obi? So just a note, Mark Gee has actually gone down to 4.3, so he's the one for me. Would you go Mamadashvili over Verbergen? No, I wouldn't. I would go Verbergen because I'd be unsure if Mamadashvili is going to hold his place. Good to see you, Maximilian. So many members in here, by the way. Shout out to all the members in here. Do show face if you haven't already. We got Tiny Fungus, Maximilian, ISO Magic, a lot of our new ones, and George, of course. We even got Sarvi in here. I didn't know you were in here. He goes, worried about João Pedro might hold like he did in game week 2, but can't take out Gyökeres. I understand that. I think Gyökeres is good in himself this game week though. What are your thoughts on Diakate and Truffert? Two good options. If you're not going Senesi, I understand it. I really, really like Truffert. He's kind of reminding me of Manoz in a sense where he's not going to necessarily get DEFCON every week, but he has a high probability of getting attack and returns. 4.3 for Gehi is criminal. Marquis. VVD Virgil van Dijk to Gabriel. I think it's quite sideways. I wouldn't do it. Bruno and Gyökeres to Saka and Voldemade. I wouldn't do it this week either. I would be happy to hold on. Unless you're scared of price rises. Do you prefer Dubravka over Pope? This game week, no. Yeah, you're right. I agree. Brighton away is a difficult fixture, but I feel like Newcastle look really good this week from a defensive point of view. Is Caicedo a good cheaper alternative to Enzo? Yes, but I would prefer Enzo. But to answer your question, an even cheaper alternative is Elliot Anderson, and no one is talking about him. Is Caicedo going to play? I think it is very likely. Reece James instead of Chalobah. Reece James is good, right? But his minutes are not going to be 90 every week. And also, he's going to see rotation. Is Ricardo Calafiori a good choice, or is it too risky? He's definitely a good choice. ISO Magic says, I have an Arsenal differential as you, Timber, Eze, and a Leeds clean sheet too. Yeah, I like that. Himmel says, at FPL Shy, I'm ready. 9k subscribers, thank you. Congrats. Appreciate it, lads. Much love. Lads, again, we've been absolutely killing it. The videos are doing great, and I'm hoping to start a new series. Do let me know if you would be interested in that. And also, as usual, lads, on Sunday, I'm planning to get out a transfer plans video, so stay tuned. If it is not out on Sunday, it will be out on Monday morning. So keep an eye out for that. Start Ndiaye or Xavi? I would start Xavi without a doubt. You could do Elliot Anderson and Saka instead of Enzo, Eze, and Kudus. I definitely could. But I like what I currently have. At FPL Shy, I went with Mateta over João Pedro. What are your thoughts? Don't love it, don't hate it. I get it. But I just think João Pedro with this fixture run, lads. I can't look past it. Jack France says, hi, Chai, lad. Anderson or Richards this game week on Wildcard? I would go Richards for me. Any last minute Enzo news? On that note, let's do a little scroll on the timeline, lads. Let's see if we can give you anything. Nothing as of yet, lads. I will be here to keep you informed if we get anything. But it doesn't look like we are. And by the way, let me quickly screenshot my team before I forget when we end the stream. I'm just going to quickly screenshot, lads. By the way, lads, I can't tell you how much this has been enjoyable. It is great to be back, lads. And great to see the reception on these streams is phenomenal as usual. And again, I don't know what's going on, if it's the change in because we've had a long international break. Everyone is delighted to be back. But Anish, our longest reigning channel member, 14 months, says, hey Chai, start 4 out of Eze, Kudus, Gakpo, Sarr, Semenyo. Start 4 for me, it has to be Eze, Kudus, Gakpo, and Semenyo. That is really tough though, and apologies if it doesn't go your way. Again, I would make your own decision on it. We've almost got 400 in here. Do hit the like button, lads. Smash it. Let's see if we can get 250 likes. It is great to be back. Kit is in here as usual. Spamming those Irish flags, of course. Up the Villa. Pope and Anderson or Sanchez and Enzo? For me, Sanchez and Enzo. Lads, let's interact. 6 minutes until the deadline. Spam in chat what team you support. Put it in. I want to see teams left, right and centre. Of course, I'm a Spurs fan. Do let me know in chat who you support. Put in the GGMU, Kais, or whatever it is. Up the Reds. I'm intrigued. But let me quickly, I can't speak. Keep refreshing the timeline to see if we get any further information, lads. Again, just 5 minutes until the deadline. So get your teams locked in. And do me a favour, if you're on Wildcard, make sure that Wildcard button is actually activated. Todd Bowley FC, Kais, Swansea. Love that Tig. Come on, you Gunners. You Never Walk Alone, Kais, United. UTV, Real Madrid, up to Chelsea, GGMU. You'll Never Walk Alone. God, lads, there's one too many Chelsea, United and Arsenal fans in here. The rest, we can compromise. You'll Never Walk Alone I can get behind because, of course, I want Liverpool to win the league if it's not going to be Tottenham. Come on, you Gunner, says Richards. Ange, first win today. Maybe you're a Forest fan. United fan from Cork. Love that, Dara. Pompeii FC, says Armetius. Are you keeping Enzo? Yes. Borrow. Love that. All right. Nice little spam in the chat. I'm going to keep refreshing and I'm going to quote, lads, I can't speak because there's so much going on. I'm going to try answer questions and refresh the timeline as we can. Like I said, we have 4 minutes until the deadline. Villa. Try saying come on you Gunners is mad. It's in quotations, Oscar. Pat Matasar to score a hat-trick today. Okay, looks like everyone is fairly happy with your teams. I'm going to be refreshing the timeline to see if we can get any reliable leak. If you're asking me now, lads, I'd be surprised if Enzo doesn't start. And if he doesn't start because he's got an issue, I can't imagine he plays. So the likelihood is I'd be getting Mukiele off the bench. So for me, I'm not too worried about. For those bringing in Enzo, of course, I will be refreshing the timeline. Let me quickly refresh my own team to make sure the wildcard is indeed active. Again, I'm showing you proof here in case that the FPL terrorists try to mess me up. And again, we've 3 minutes 40 until the deadline. If you have enjoyed the stream, lads, and you are leaving soon enough, do hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I know I've said it many, many times, but some people forget. And Maliki is putting chants in the chat. Go away, Maliki. Lavia will start. You think so, E-Man? If Enzo doesn't start, will Guy? That is a good observation. I wonder, do I just put Mark Guy in this position of Mukiele? You have me thinking. If Enzo's not starting, that puts Pedro in the 10 and Mark Guy in the 9. Chat, Chelsea fans, quickly, let me know in chat. Am I tweaking? Is that a good observation? Or is that thinking too deep into it? Pope over Sanchez. Yes, I'm taking a gambit. London is blue. I don't think so, Praful. It's definitely not blue. Might be navy. Shall I do a bench Evanilson, Ndiaye or Mbuemo? You bench in... You probably bench Mbuemo. Sorry, I don't have a definitive answer. Alright, lads. There's 2 minutes until the deadline. And it does not look like we're going to get something before the deadline. And I've been refreshing the timeline as mad. So I'm actually going to leave that there so we can have my own team up and running. Chelsea fans, quickly, let me know. Should I be putting in Marquis? Enzo will be benched. Enzo Fernandez on the bench. Chelsea Caicedo and João Pedro both start. Don't know how reliable. Lads, I've not got a reliable source on that. I know you're seeing it in chat, but I would be hopeful from the people I follow that we would get a tweet saying that. So, make of it as you will. I would play Enzo if I was on wildcard starting him. Whether or not I would bring him in, I'd leave it up to your own interpretation. For me, I'd be happy to bring him in either way. What are the Chelsea fans saying on Mark Guy before I drop Enzo start Guy Chai? No Guy. No Rajiv. Chai, okay, you need to link me the leak because I'm not seeing it anywhere. I've not got anything on the timeline. Anyway, lads, I'm going to play as is, I believe. Because I've not seen it myself and I can't leave it up to a dodgy leak that I don't trust. Enzo starts is so mixed. Anyway, lads, 1 minute till the deadline. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. I'm going to be refreshing it anyway because we still have about a minute. Let's see if we can get it before the deadline. I don't see it, lads, and usually it would be the first thing to pop up on my feed. It would be retweeted or something, quote tweeted. But I'm happy with the team. And best of luck this week, lads. We've just after hitting the deadline. I didn't mean to refresh that. Anyway, we've just hit the deadline. I hope you've enjoyed another stream. Again, the reception on the videos, lads, if you're still in here before you go quickly, just stick with me for just a second, has been absolutely phenomenal. We've just hit 9k subs and we will be pushing towards the end of the year to go towards 10k. That's right, I'm pushing the end of the year, not at the end of the season. I'm hopeful we can do it by 2026. I'm thinking of being as consistent as I've been, of course. I want to be consistent because I love the reception I'm getting and I really do appreciate it, lads. Every week I come on here looking forward to the stream and I'm in a position where I'm fortunate enough to be talking about football. And it is a hobby at the end of the day. I get to speak about one of my hobbies to an audience and for some reason people want to listen to me. What I would say is I hope you know that I, as much as I think I'm trying to give advice, I don't try to give advice. What it is necessarily is, if I was in your spot, it is what I would do. And if I put myself in your shoes, they're the answers I'm giving you. I would never ever tell you who to pick. Same with my transfer plans, my team selections. It's more so giving my thoughts and what I think. again, we've had two phenomenal finishes, 1,839 and 4,320 something. And again, we were former number 2. Shout out to anyone who's been there since then. And I'm going to leave it here. But I hope you've enjoyed the videos over the international break. Thank God football is back. And I hope you've enjoyed another amazing stream, lads. But I'm going to leave it there, lads. And as usual, lads,